All right, everyone, we should be live. Let's make sure that's actually the case. Of course, we're going live a little bit early here, a couple minutes early. That's perfectly fine. We've got major Pixel Planet update news here. Of course, we're backing off of Turkey and swinging around to other endeavors. I'll be making an announcement about that. First, let me make sure that we're actually live over on Rumble, though. It's going to be a fun day. Lots and lots of griefing. Just the way that it should be. It's time to do some epic trolling, make some head spin. Yes, we're live on Rumble. Okay, let me make sure that all the tabs are working. Lots and lots of news. Of course, Pelosi Supergaffe, Ukraine trying to get into NATO, which is crazy, but we'll talk about that. Dutch inflation, along with other things. And so to all of you out there, there is a link pinned at the top of chat if you're on YouTube. It's also in the description of the live stream itself if you're on Rumble. We have decided, I have decided in a dictatorial manner, we're no longer going to bother griefing the Turks. I actually admire them because they have greater organizational skills at this point than any faction other than our own on Pixel Planet. So we've decided to declare white peace with the Turkish people on the server. So there will be very salty Europeans as the Turks slowly overrun them, which is fine and funny, actually. I admire strength. To be clear, if all of Europe combined can't push back one country because they have streamers on their side, I'm not going to be able to sit here bailing you out forever. So I guess that giant swastika over Germany eventually will be a Turkish flag, and that's fine with me. So to Aaron and all of the other Turkish streamers, one up for you, bro. Big admiration for your griefing capabilities. I suppose now the idea, first, of course, repairing our area. We're an African nation, of course. And secondly, taking over Vermont, actually. Again, that is the link that you will see. It's the state there with the giant pine tree on it. We're going to be taking that over. I figured it this way. If the two largest factions on the server don't attack one another but are doing their own thing, we can do 10 times more damage and griefing. And that's basically the entire point of Pixel Planet. It's the entire site has imploded to this point that there's nothing to do there but grief anyway. Anything that you build is going to be griefed by somebody. So we're going to get rid of the giant swastikas that used to fly over Africa and move into the United States and take fucking that over too. Otherwise, the only problem is this. I stream, and then we push the Turks back. Aaron or somebody else streams, and they push back our Clank forces. And in the end, it's just an inevitable eternal stalemate. So it stops being fun after a while when there's so much else on the map that we could be destroying. Let them form the Ottoman Empire. We're officially leaving the Balkan region and let them run roughshod over all their neighbors. Maybe their neighbors will organize better in the future. We will be switching around and taking over New England and continuing to expand our African expedition. You can go down to Africa, not far from Spawn. There is griefing on the Ouroboros. That is from the Turkish players. But again, it's all good. We'll just repair it and ignore Turkey and let them take over Europe. It'll be funny. I'm actually anxiously watching them slowly grinding down their neighbors. Let's change the framing here. Yes, Jessica Burbank, the debate the other day on BTR, by the way, which you should watch. Let me get a link to that. I'll pop that in chat really quickly. She's very salty over her extreme loss in the debate against me on BTR. It's very, very funny. Oh, that's not what I want. What the fuck am I doing? I'll do this before I launch into the news. Where's the link down here? There was some vocal fry going on, by the way, of course. Give me that link. I'll post it for everyone over on YouTube and also on Rumble. There is a Rumble link too. BTR does have a Rumble channel. But I debated the other day with Jessica Burbank of the Young Turks, actually. She's a contract worker, by the way, so she's not part of the Young Turks Union. Very, very funny. It was hilarious and cringy, and she's been in damage control mode now for almost 24 hours. I was vaping the entire time. I'm assuming it was cannabinoid she was vaping, by the way. Attacking chat, calling them all incels, attacking the show, saying that Lev was lopsided, attacking me, liking memes of me from 2013, 2014, with regards to that video that I made actually comparing Google to the Gestapo at the time, and leftoids love to post that. It's interesting. They think that I blame feminism for not getting a date. I would like to point out, of course, I am married with a child, but they wouldn't get the joke. The joke's butt is them. Steve M. needs some help over in Pixel Planet, North Carolina. NES and Link welcomes you to Asheville. Yes, we'll be taking over the United States, I suppose. Go around Kekistan, though. They're allies of ours, of course. Oh, there's another Styx General on 4chan. Why am I not surprised? I have a feeling that laptop poster just waits until my live streams go live and then posts it over on there. A little bit of extra fun. I'm not seeing it. Wouldn't surprise me, though. I'm going live right now. I don't have time to fuck around on 4chan. By the way, 4chan's birthday. 4chan is 19 today as well. Anyway, we'll get right into the news here. There's a little bit of lopsided titling with regards to the news articles here. Putin illegally proclaims annexation of 4 occupied regions. Ukraine applies to join NATO. Oh, wonderful. World War III. Yeah. Kiev has vowed to keep fighting to retake its occupied land, and on Friday appeared on the verge of handing Russia's military another significant setback. This is, of course, from NBC News. So, they're entrenched with the Biden administration. President Vladimir Putin proclaimed the biggest annexation of territory in post-war Europe on Friday, claiming control over swaths of Ukraine. In defiance of international law, which literally nobody follows, including the United States, and in spite of his forces facing another significant battlefield setback. Here's the reason. You declare yourself the owner of that land, and then you give yourself a justification to continue occupying it. That's the whole grift. To be clear, I oppose the Russian invasion of Ukraine, although it's based on premises with regards to international agreements prior. I oppose that. I also, in addition, oppose starting World War III, starting a nuclear conflict, admitting a nation currently under siege into NATO, which would spark potentially a broader war. I think that's a terrible idea. I think, where are all these liberals that were so gung-ho anti-war, 15 years ago? Where are they to put on their love beads and chant hippily-ish and talk about how we should all get along? It seems like that spirit of not 69, but the spirit of 2009 is dead forever. They've sold out, I would say. If you want to stop Putin, then fucking stop him. You've got to figure out a way to do that, potentially starting a nuclear war in the process. These people are pussies. They don't have the balls to do anything about what Russia's doing other than pumping Ukraine full of weapons. And then let's say they do win. Now, let's say the Ukrainians manage to push Russia out of its territory. They've still formally annexed it. They'll attack it again in the future. It doesn't matter if you've ground down Russian manpower. And it could possibly lead to even more escalations. You've got the sabotaging of the Nord Stream pipelines right now. We'll be speaking separately on the fact that the Western media is effectively just blaming Russia without any evidence of who actually did the sabotaging. It's war rhetoric. It's sort of like the lead up to the invasion of Iraq. And I see the same sort of bullshit being said. Only now it's not conservatives saying it, it's liberals. They're saying like, you hate the United States, you love Putin, there's something right, you're an extremist, Migrant, and all of this bullshit. If you oppose the idea of causing a nuclear war. Well, I differ from their particular perspective. I think that the liberals have gone completely insane, don't realize the importance of what they're saying, and don't realize the importance of what's happening over there in Eastern Europe. Grevin Share, some salty sticks, Aaron shipping PPF art probably incoming. Yeah, we should do a peace statue. That would be funny. We'll have a flag, and it's half the Turkish flag and half of the Ouroboros flag to show absolute dominance over the entire server. Because between our two factions, I mean, there's no... everyone else on the server combined doesn't have the kind of manpower that we combined have. Between the Turkish streamers and Clankdom, we have more than half the people currently online in the server. We're talking thousands of people total. Up until now, though, the problem is that we have been fighting Turkey, of course, originally to defend Greece, but they're not defending themselves. And we push them back, they push us back, and we're wasting time. We could be attacking bigger targets. So we're going to let Turkey go run roughshod over the Balkan. Fuck them in the ass. And we're going to fuck Africa in the ass, too. We're going to take over the entire continent. I'm pixeling in right now as we speak. So yeah, Ukraine wants into NATO, and here's my my thoughts on that. I don't think that that's a great idea, considering that I believe it violates NATO's incepted articles actually to admit a nation that's currently being occupied anyway. I suppose the idea is that if you cede those territories to Russia in some official capacity and then admit the rest of Ukraine, you can prevent Russia from doing anything further, then it would be fine. But you'd have to recognize Russia's right over that territory. Why do I get the feeling that NATO may admit Ukraine but stab the Ukrainians in the back by ceding that territory and saying, well, enough is enough, we've got to come to the bargaining table? I think that's probably the only de-escalation move you can have right now that doesn't cause hundreds of thousands of more casualties. We'll see what happens. I just think the whole thing's fucked up. We could have admitted them in the dead of night years ago and prevented this from ever happening. There were no steps taken by Obama when Crimea was annexed. There was no steps needing to be taken under Trump because Russia didn't dare to invade. Under Biden, immediate invasion. Oh my goodness. It's almost like if you have a weak leader of, the main country in NATO, the main power within NATO, that it emboldens your enemies. You can blame Biden for what's currently happening in Ukraine. Opinionated junkie. Will Putin last until Halloween? Left doesn't. Yeah, I think that Putin is fine. Sean R. Clank me, Pappy. Steve M. Her basic point was to say people are ignorant, therefore they don't know the union is good for them. Claims no access to info, yet all people have phones. Yeah, that's the funny thing is people aren't capable of Googling the issue of unions. The fact that the majority of the population is not in a union and doesn't want to be is considered a problem by people who want to use unions as a money sponge. That's what it boils down to. The socialists want everyone to have to be unionized so that they can extract more tribute from them. Sebastian Monroe, the debate was atrocious. Then again, I saw it coming when I saw she's from the Young Turks. What's more fun is trolling her simps. My notifs go off like crazy. Lol. Yeah, there are a lot of simps on there, a lot of soy boys that are vying for her attention, I guess. They think if they get a response, then they get all antsy in the pantsy, I suppose. It's pathetic. Meanwhile, she called a significant proportion of the entire viewing audience incels based on some people that were actually trolling. No, it's the internet. No, she didn't expect that there would be any trolls in the chat saying things because she's female. Oh my God. Next news story. Pelosi decimated for claiming illegal migrants need to stay in Florida to pick the crops down there. I wish this was hyperbolic, but it's actually not. Yes, indeed. Nancy Pelosi quoted to herself. Do they have a full quote here? I don't have a full quote in this article. I do have it back on Twitter, so I can go and check that. I'll give you the full quote because it's one fucking humdinger of a quote here. Just a second. And you might hear some baby in the background. Yeah, here's Pelosi's quote. Pelosi, we have a shortage of workers in our country. And you see, even in Florida, some of the farmers and the growers are saying, why are you shipping these immigrants up north? We need them to pick the crops down here. And I talked this morning, she's a silver spooner. She's the rich bitch with $100 million in net worth. She's got more money than she could ever possibly spend, which is funny, on its head because her congressional salary is not enough to make even a tenth of the net worth that she has. Even if she didn't pay any taxes, which she probably doesn't. I'm sure she uses the Cayman Islands like Mitt Romney does. Here's the thing. Nancy Pelosi is putting it out there. The idea that those folks, those others with a different skin color than her own, that she would only hire to do her garden work, I suppose, or maybe cook for her, they need to stay to hell down there. They need to stay in their lane. The farmers down there, they grow oranges and lemons and avocados and shit. Why aren't you happy doing the same manual labor for peanuts that you were doing in your home country that made you come to the United States in the first place? Well, you people need to be brought to heel. We've seen this plantation mom mentality before. Well, plantation grandma or great grandma in her case, with Hillary Clinton, hot sauce in the handbag, bring people to heel, etc. We've seen it with Elizabeth Warren. We've seen it with virtually all of the cavalcade of old white ladies within the Democratic Party. And it's disgraceful, is what it is. Meanwhile, trending right now is not Nancy Pelosi's grow my fucking arugula or go back to your home country comments, actual bigotry. What trends? Elaine Chao. Yeah, Coco Chow, with Donald Trump, of course, calling her that moniker. It appears to be a reference to Cocaine Mitch's yacht incident. Cocaine. The leftoids don't take it that way. They think that it has to do with her skin color, which clearly it doesn't, and it's very, very funny. So if Donald Trump makes up a mean nickname for someone connected to the cocaine trade that Mitch McConnell is allegedly involved in, and I think that that's probably true, I think that was a way for him to get money. Well, it's a senator's yacht. It's not going to get checked by customs. A senator owns this ship. No, we won't go through it too carefully. Just hide the cocaine behind the anchovies or something like that. That's really meaningful, hard-hitting news. Everyone needs to hear about it. Nancy Pelosi telling millions of people, hey, you came to our country as migrants or outright illegals. Stay down in the South and pick my fucking salad. That's not considered meaningful whatsoever. Very funny. Opinionated junkie, left hates Russia because they think Putin put in Trump. Yeah, true. I don't like Putin either, but the fact that I don't like Putin, number one, doesn't make me like Biden, who's weak on the issue anyway. Number two, doesn't make me like the Ukrainian government. I have sympathy for the Ukrainian people, but its government is corrupt as all fuck. And we used to admit to this openly. It was listed as one of the most corrupt nations in the world up until the time they got invaded. Now Zelensky is an archangel. He's basically like Gabriel or something like that. He's coming down to slay the dragon. He's the archangel Michael all of a sudden. That's number two. And number three, I don't want World War III brinksmanship. You know, I just brought a child into the world. I would rather not have mushroom clouds. It's as simple as that. Yeah, it'd be funny to play Fallout real life, but you know, this is the real world. This isn't a fucking video game, and the liberals have completely absconded their common sense. They've completely let go of any principles that they fucking had. At points over the last few years, they've slowly let go of those principles, anti-censorship, anti-war in general. Now they're begging for a goddamn nuclear conflict. What the hell is wrong with these people? How did you get so screwed up? You watch too much CNN. Taylor Lewandowski. Sticks, you've been my morning show while I'm at work looking at trees. Keep up the great work and clank. 489 Sean Tower, wondering your thoughts on Harris's statement on Hurricane Ian and equity and only people of color need apply for relief. Yeah, I didn't see the full statement, but I'm sure that it's a doozy. But that's everything that comes out of Kamala's mouth. We just talked about her the other day declaring that the U.S. had a long-term alliance with North Korea. Yeah, oh boy, that must have gone well in the press down in Seoul. Sebastian Monroe. Missed opportunity. Tell her to send Cenk my regards as a warning to what'll happen on his election night stream. Her loss, his surprise, LMAO. Yeah, we will be probably going and pivoting after the midterm live stream that I will be doing with Sleazy P. Martini. Might do a test beforehand, so keep tuned. We will probably pivot to clanking on the Young Turks election live stream. I won't be able to be there clanking with you directly because I'm actually banned on their channel. I'm not allowed to comment on their live streams. Slayer Sigma Zeta, was the Third Reich a left-wing political system in your opinion? Yeah, absolutely. Heavy centrality. Your business is allowed to do whatever it wants as long as you toe the line that we give you. It's basically the proto-model for China. Yeah, it was closer to communism than anything else, but it escaped notice. Alamandorius. Hey, Sticks, all hail Clankdom. Had an epiphany a few days ago. Amazon is effectively Acme. Sorry, with all the doom and gloom in the news, I thought a little humor might go down well. Sebastian Monroe, she wasn't called Chow Mein. What's the deal? Opinionated Junkie, don't like CCP due to Demic, but don't want World War III. Cindy Drellick, debate. You asked her, should people who just want to work and not join a union be made to join? You asked it about 10 different ways. Did she even answer you? All I heard was deflection from her. Clank. Yeah, exactly. That's all you're going to get with a leftoid. And I knew going into the debate, if I'm debating somebody from the Young Turks, I'm not going to get a straight answer with regards to such an issue. I knew it would be basically, and she did, talking down, if not looking down. She claims she's from the working class. Okay, I can get that. So you weren't raised rich. That's fine. She spoke down to people saying, well, if they knew how much it was in their best interest to be in a union, they would all decide to join, but they don't have access to that information. But that's bullshit. They do have access to that information. Have you heard of the internet? You constantly perturb people in workplace environments to try to gull them into joining unions. A lot of them reject it. More unionization attempts are rejected than accepted for a reason, because people don't see the actual need. You can't assume that all of those people are just fucking stupid. And that's the elitist mentality of the blue coastal regions, the penthouse dwellers, and that's the problem. It's also why the left loses, but they're too stupid to realize it. Shaker Silver, Russia recognition of foreign regions claiming independence comes from NATO playbook, i.e. Kosovo. Does democracy count just for us, but not for our enemies? Slightly apples to oranges as a non-third party sort of struggle. But yeah, ultimately, at the end of the day, there is an equivalency, of course. John Hoyle, would you consider America an empire? Yes, at this point, it basically is. Baker Boy, made a new account and joined the clanking. Professor Plaguebat, framing is the new circle back. Yes, I think it was said, how many times did she say something along those lines during the debate? A dozen? Somebody has to fact check that for me. Go through, watch the entire debate, put yourself through the vocal fry, and see how many times that was said. I know it's at least in the double-digit range. Joker 1 on Rumble, Ukraine wants us to give them tanks. The USMC has no more tanks. They gave them up as too expensive and cumbersome. Anti-tank missiles are the future, so says the Brain Trust in the U.S. Well, the missile costs less than the tank, so you could make that point. Biden's mental sharpness is increasingly doubtful, and it's a serious issue. For the first time, I would like to proudly announce, we have the legacy media. This is the Washington Examiner, so straddles the line there a little bit. It's definitely not a left-wing publication, but it's part of the same juggernaut legacy media. Ultimately, at the end of the day, just like Fox is and Breitbart and all of the others, they are finally asking questions with regards to Joe Biden having the mental capacity necessary to discharge his duties as the president of the United States. Well, steward, but you know what I mean. Because he forgot that Walorski was dead the other day. Now, I talked about this a couple days ago at the time. Yes, Biden doesn't know who's dead and alive. He doesn't know what year it is. He is a shambling goddamn vegetable. He can barely stand upright at this point on his own. He gets frequently confused. He gets old man angry and combative at random points. The man has Alzheimer's disease. He has dementia. It's not he's old and he has cognitive decline in the sense of he just forgets things occasionally. There has been, and I challenge anybody to goddamn debate me on this, there has been a marked difference between when Joe Biden's stewardship began a year and a half ago versus today. It used to be every month or so we'd get some gaffe, and most of them were mild. They were just humorous. Then towards the end of last year, it was a couple of times a month. Beginning of this year, it began to be like maybe 3 times a month. It's happening every goddamn week. This is the way in which Alzheimer's progresses. I would love to see somebody make a goddamn line chart week after week throughout the presidency, so-called. Make a line chart and show how many dementia gaffe moments Biden had per month or per week, however you want to measure it. I guarantee you'd see a trend. And that's indicative of actual cognitive decline a la dementia, not simply he happens to be getting older. There are people in Congress that are older than Biden that are more coherent than him. Fucking Dianne Feinstein, who almost certainly has Alzheimer's disease too, is more coherent than Joe Biden. Nancy Pelosi is occasionally more coherent than Joe Biden. Don't even get me started on elderly fogies like Chuck Schumer. Why is it that nobody is asking this question until the last 24 to 48 hours? They have to wait until he forgets that somebody is dead when he was just told that they're dead, literally in the speech made right before he took the podium. You have to wait for that to know that there's something wrong. He's had 3 falls over the last year and a half, possibly more. Maybe they're not all televised. He's fallen up the stairs of Air Force One, and we heard the cope of it was a breezy day. Everyone falls down on the steps because there's a light breeze, of course. He claimed, and this was his claim, that he crazily decided to chase his dog to grab its tail on a slick floor in the shower at the dawn of his so-called presidency, and he tripped and he accidentally broke his foot, and that's why he was in the ROM walker there for a while. I don't know which is worse, if his story is true or if his story is bullshit. He's had this happen over and fucking over. Every time he makes a speech, as long as the cameras are still on, he immediately forgets where he is and has to be directed by his wife or a staffer or a nearby soldier as to where he's even supposed to walk. The man is demented. At this point, based on what I see, based on the progression of his mental problems, he's not even going to last for his full term. It's less than 50-50 now as to whether he even makes it to the end of his term without being effectively a fucking vegetable. This is the progression rate that I see. It went from early stage Alzheimer's when he first literally takes his office to, I would say, approaching moderate Alzheimer's levels now. He's forgetting people exist. He's forgetting people died. He's forgetting what year it is. He's saying weird shit to little kids. I'm 30 and she was 12. You remember that one? That one didn't get headline news on Washington Examiner for a reason. It's happening over. He's demented. There's no question in my mind about the fact that he's fucking demented. These people are acting on this site and others like it's some sort of revelation. Like nobody brought it up before recently. Joker 1, Biden's crew, from his wife to his cabinet, congressional leaders, staff, and benefactors use him as a vessel to power, and they won't give up until he gives up the ghost. Yeah, the problem is that Alzheimer's eventually kills you as well. Your heart forgets to stop beating. Almendorius, the way I see it is this. If your company is treating you well, no union needed. If it isn't, there is strength in the unity a union provides. Just make sure to be careful who you elect as officers. Yeah, or you can just find a different job. Or you can, instead of unionizing, you can simply get together with other workers and walk off the job. That makes the same point. It's what unions do anyway, right? Walk off the job and say, look, we're not being paid enough. Boss says, fuck you. You say, okay, well then fuck you and fuck your factory. Why do you need a union for that? Javelol, Sticks, I laughed so much during yesterday's debate. The end was a perfect chef's kiss moment. When it came out, she was benefiting from the Young Turks union while not paying into it. Framing. Yeah, I thought that was very funny. Rectal Ranger, Big Oof Sticks, Yikes Areno, Biden is demented, Incel Alert. Also, have you heard of What If Falthist? You would probably enjoy his channel. I've never heard of him, no. Mad Anthony Wayne, good morning. Can we get a redirect to the African Swaz? Great job in the debate and your superior framing. Lol, clank. Yeah, right now, Vermont is being taken over and we're just repairing damage back in Africa. I'm sure that you can find it on a map. Africa on Pixel Planet is basically half of it's a gigantic blob of yellow and red tiles because we've taken over basically all of the middle of Africa. And the giant swastikas there, we've been pushing them back. I don't even have to tell people to do that. But yeah, we do have Pixel Planet News. We're no longer bothering to fight the Turks. I'm actually, I'm enjoying watching them slowly grief the rest of Europe because apparently they're incapable of defending themselves on the server. So why should we step up constantly? I'd rather focus on Africa or take over the state of Vermont. That's where the coordinates go. Again, link in the description, cross-platform, as well as pinned at the top of chat. I'm not seeing enough action over in Vermont. To be clear, maybe we should do it all black and just have an Ouroboros on it instead of having the red and yellow pixels. Maybe push it over into New Hampshire, too. That'd be funny. We'll figure it out later. Just grief things. President-elect pressure 609. Check out Dr. Todd Grand breakdown of the potato. By the way, Jessica was gorgeous. She was vaping the entire time. I have a feeling it was cannabinoids. Next news story. There may be no clearer sign of an enemy in retreat than his scuttling his own ships, which is what Putin appears to have done on Monday by blowing up the main pipelines for exporting Russia's natural gas to Europe, writes Surya Jayanti. This is from Time. So without any proof whatsoever, because no proof has been offered of who was responsible for the pipelines being scuttled, I guess it's Putin's fault. You know, Putin man bad. But there's no proof of this. This is the kind of propaganda you get before a broader war begins. To be clear about how meaningful this is, Time, much like the rest of the legacy media, takes its marching orders partially from the US government. I'm not surprised to see this headline. I am surprised to see that liberals are accepting this. You're doing exactly like everyone did right after 9/11, when W came out and started rambling about Saddam having weapons of mass destruction. You're being led like lambs to the slaughter the same way, and it's fucking stupid. You look like fools when you're endorsing this. You can acknowledge the excesses and problems of Russia, the corrupt government there, the systemic problems with the oligarchic system that operates there, the backwardsness of some of their diplomacy, and certainly the invasion of Ukraine, without, number one, simply blaming them as monolithic evil entities for literally everything that happens, Gulf of Tonkin style, and number two, proclaiming that we should get more broadly involved. That would be a terrible idea. To be clear, it could kill several billion people. Yeah, we stopped the Russians. Hey, Patrick, we saved the city. That would basically be the last meme posted on the internet would be that. On the last 4chan post, right as the mushroom clouds are falling and everything goes dark, that'd be the last thing posted. Hopefully somebody archives it and saves it to a local disk when that happens. Brooklyn Funk Project sticks, I concur. What if Alt Hist is definitely a YouTube channel worth checking out? Darun Albane, shoot episodes missing. Yes, I know the exclusive has not processed on BitChute yet today. The other videos did. It was the Coco Chow video, the Trump derangement syndrome video. Next news story, Joe Biden and the Sovietization of America. What does it mean that he's demonized half the country? Of course, I would go beyond that. Joe Biden does use Soviet tactics on the U.S. public. But it's not just the fact that he appears before the all red lit up screen with the Marines on the side and pounds the gavel and starts screaming incoherently like Adolf Hitler about the fact that half the country is evil. Goes beyond that. We've also got separate news. We'll be talking about that in a moment, where the federal government has been outsourcing censorship to so-called private companies. That's number one. It's not just demonizing people. It's deliberately and explicitly attacking them on big tech to try to take their voice away because they are disagreed with by the government and its bottom line. That's number one. Banking has become involved. Banks that are regulated directly by the government have kicked people out for their political views. They went to the wrong rally. They had the wrong views. They're trying to prevent gun owners from obtaining loans and shit like that at this point. These people are sleazebags. They're scum. DC is run by scumbags. Everyone's flipping out over how the Kremlin, how Moscow is run by scumbags. Of course it is. It's a major capital in the world. What do you expect? It's full of lawyers and politicians and shit. Of course they're shit fucks. They're dog fuckers, every single one of them. Putin probably does it literally. DC's the same way. What's the fucking difference? The only difference is your government can legalize its abuse of you. A foreign government can't do that. Yes, I am much more concerned about DC being a hellhole filled with fucking morons, people like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Mitt Romney. I'm much more concerned about that and the fact that they can make laws to try to grind me down than the Russians who, unperturbed by foreign policy by that DC government, aren't doing jack shit to the United States. They've invaded one of their neighboring countries. I feel sympathy for the Ukrainians. I have no problem with selling weapons to the Ukrainians, although we simply give it to them. No pay needed, apparently. It's not even lend-lease mode. That being said, that's you're not a Russophile by pointing out the fact that DC is just as corrupt. It doesn't mean you love Vladimir Putin. Oh my God, you MAGA people are so gung-ho for Russia. That's war propaganda. They said the same fucking bullshit before they invaded Iraq. They said the same fucking bullshit before they invaded Afghanistan. They said the same fucking bullshit before they occupied parts of Syria. They said the same fucking bullshit before Vietnam and Korea and everything else. Everything post-World War II by every major power in the entire world. The US, the Soviets, later Russia, the Chinese, they invaded Vietnam, they invaded several of their neighbors, is fucking horseshit. It's always prefaced on the same bullshit. There's always the same bullshit propaganda. They always say that anyone that disagrees with the bottom line of the fucking retarded government is propaganda by some foreign threat, some foreign enemy, or they're extremist. It's happening again. And the liberals are being taken in hook, line, and sinker. The fact is that Joe Biden is more close to the Soviet Union's model than fucking Vladimir Putin is, in some ways. Vladimir Putin, or at least equivalent. Stand on stage, pound your fists, say that there are enemies of the state we need to silence. There's an external enemy, we need to defeat them. There's a bunch of exterior others that are trying to stop us. They're subversive and satanic and evil. How the hell is Putin's speech regarding devil-worshipping American government members much different from the MAGA speech that we saw from fucking Beijing Biden? And Biden even is being pretentious as well. He's controlled partially by the Chinese allies of Russia. It's all talk. It's all bullshit. It's Radio Gaga sort of bullshit that we're seeing right now. ICT Backpack, you're a sympathizer, Sticks, with a warmonger loser Putin that threatens nukes when he loses. You're a kowtow. Please tell me where nukes were threatened to be used. And I don't mean, hey, we have nukes. Ha ha ha, fuck off. I mean, where have they been threatened to be used? I would have to aim that criticism at Joe Biden, by the way. He has alluded to that too, along with, what's his name? Was it Swalwell or was it that other moron within Congress? I think it was Swalwell, saying that the U.S. people with their puny guns can't fend off against the U.S. military because we have atomic weapons. Well, very, very similar. Professor Enoch 095, thoughts on Charlie Kirk and TPUSA? Sticks for governor. I don't have huge thoughts on them, actually. TPUSA. Critical Thinker, thanks for your vids. Love from Texas. Excellent. Better weather than in Florida right now. Joker 1, if Putin had a Wayback Machine starting over in 2000, he would have been more of a Western leader. He and his country would be much more powerful and better off, or is he too KGB for his own good? Russia did make a Western swing, and the biggest criticism that I would have for Russia is that now they're swinging towards the Eastern Bloc. They're going back to the Soviet era. They're going back to the 60s and 70s. It will be a mistake, I think, for them in the long term, possibly for the world. If we have a nuclear war, there are no winners. The entirety of the world will be shrouded in radiation. Billions of people will die, and the world economy will falter, and then several billion more will die. You know how most people, by the way, will die in the wake of a nuclear war? They don't get roasted by a nuke. They don't die of cancer from fallout. They don't die of iodine, radioactive iodine gets in, they have a big-ass goiter, get cancer or something. No, they die of cholera. They will shit themselves to death. Water systems will break down. Medical infrastructure will break down. They'll die of cholera, and they'll die of tuberculosis. That's how most of the world's population dies. They don't get a glorious death being absorbed by atom. They don't get a glorious death on the battlefield. They don't die of old age. 99% of them, they shit themselves to death, or they cough up blood until they goddamn asphyxiate on their own goddamn lung fluids. Yeah, that'll be really great. Wonderful. This is what some liberals out there actually support the concept of making that a reality. Think of how goddamn insane these people are. But they're all NIMBYs. See, they don't care about anyone's life but their own. They think that out in their outer suburbs or the gated community, they'll be safe from the radiation. Their water system will keep working a little bit longer. They've got a well that won't break down for a while. They'll still shit themselves to death. And they'll deserve it too, by the way. Russians will die. Americans will die. Chinese people will die. British people will die. Zimbabweans will die. The food aid dries up. Half of Africa starves to death the next time there's a locust swarm. Just to be clear, there are people out there that actually like. I like to be edgy. Let me take a moment to just say this. I like to be edgy. I like grave humor. I like talking about mutilated bodies and everything else under the sun. I constantly ramble about my own death, that's impending at some point in the future, and I chuckle about it because I've practiced a SHIB, so I don't really care about this mortal vessel. But there are people out there that are really goddamn glorifying the concept of killing several billion people in order to make a political point. And they're not even thinking about the longer term consequences. Okay, you've defeated the Russians. You killed everyone in Moscow. Ha ha. They've used up all their nukes and they're not a power anymore because their country has collapsed. You just killed a bunch of kids. You just killed a bunch of women and crippled people and old people and ethnic minorities. The liberals should think more about that because they care about them the most. You've also just led to the death of half of the US population, at least immediately, and half of the rest within the subsequent year due to starvation, cholera, tuberculosis, and fucking septicemia and things like that. They will die. They will suffer before they die too. And you'll get to see it if you survive. Yeah, and then you'll pat yourself on the back. What a great thing we did. Finally we had World War III. They'll think that they're rich because they found 2 cans of beans in the wreckage because they're retarded. Seeing sights. Trump offers to lend a team to negotiate on the end to a war in Ukraine. Your thoughts? Well, Trump would be a better negotiator than Biden or Kamala. Baker Boy, clanking with a spoon in my morning homemade beer. You're drinking beer in the morning. That's not usually a good thing, just to be clear. Leo C., Florida man lives. Thank you, Styx, for leading this wonderful community of clankers. I can feel the love. Not a banned account. Why can't we just send immigrants to fight Russia? I mean, you could, but there's not going to be any ground invasion of Russia anyway. That'd be suicidal. It wouldn't make any sense. Ty Sloan, thoughts on China's National Day and the coup in China have been going around lately. I don't have any thoughts. Mr. Marbles, World War III is happening, just to be clear. Fuck Civil War. Yeah, I guess Civil War and national divorce have been replaced with just fucking nuke everything. People have gotten even more crazy. Next news story, outsourced censorship. Yes, groups working directly with DHS. This is an elaboration on a previous story that I've talked about. Had a 35% success rate in getting material downed off of groups of places like Facebook and Twitter, etc. When they complained about it. These are, effectively, think about the situation. U.S. taxpayers pay money to DHS, and it partners with private groups that are, in some cases, granted, of course. And then they go and they deliberately complain about and try to get censored some of the people that literally funded them in the first place through their taxpayer money. How incestuous is this particular arrangement? The Election Integrity Partnership is back in action again for the 2022 midterm elections, raising concerns among civil libertarians and literally anyone else with half a fucking brain that a chilling new form of public-private partnership to evade the First Amendment's prohibition of government censorship may be expanding. The consortium is comprised of 4 member organizations: Stanford Internet Observatory, the University of Washington Center for an Disinformed Public, I guess, the Atlantic Council's Digital Forensic Research Lab. Jared Holt works for them, just to be clear about who we're talking about, and social media analytics firm Graphica. It sets up a concierge-like service in 2020 that allowed federal agencies like Homeland Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, or CISA, and states' Global Engagement Center to file tickets requesting that online story links and social media posts be censored or flagged by big tech. 3 liberal groups, the Democratic National Committee, Common Cause, and the NAACP, were also empowered, like the federal agencies, to file tickets seeking censorship of content. In what realm of reality can anyone who has even the slightest inkling of Americanism, the sort of civic underpinnings of what made the United States, find this to be okay? No matter how egregious you think the material is that's being censored here. There's a big difference between someone making terroristic threats and somebody making a meme that simply makes you cry because you're a fucking moron. But apparently that is lost on today's leftoids, and they'll support it. I would point out that the Atlantic Council is also a pro-NATO gung-ho for goddamn nuclear war group. It's interesting that Jared Holt gets his start in Right Wing Watch, which is like a Bernie, hippie-trippy fucking Ben & Jerry's ice cream, love beads, and meditation fucking leftoid group, and then ends up in the Atlantic Council. Again, it's political incest at its goddamn best. By the way, he blocked me a while ago. He couldn't stand the heat, so he got out of the fucking kitchen. Good on him. You were pathetic anyway. So the government is using private groups to try to censor people. Some groups getting money in the process, of course. California Governor Gavin Newsom signs bill limiting the use of rap lyrics as evidence in criminal proceedings. Finally, at long last, it's been a while since I've been able to make an entry like this. A Democratic governor has actually done something good, has actually done something respectable. I actually support this. I'll tell you why. The First Amendment explicitly covers the protection of the use of bawdy or even threatening language in a musical format. If you're not aiming it at an individual for a purpose that could trigger potentially a civil lawsuit, why should it be used in regards to aggravating criminal charges? For example, let's say a rapper makes an angry song about another rapper and then kills them. It wasn't premeditated or anything like that. But one of the lyrics says, "Hey, I bitch, I wish I could kill you. Motherfucking Crips, straight up for real," or something like that. There have been cases where those lyrics are used as evidence of an aggravating factor to put them in jail longer. Or it's used in front end to just put them in jail generally. Like they make some song about killing cops, and then a cop gets shot by some super fan of theirs, and then they all of a sudden face a lawsuit, which is frivolous. That shouldn't happen. Who gives a fucking shit? Rock and roll was created out of doing edgy shit. Have you ever heard of what the fuck band was it? I can't remember. Was it Children of Bodom, I think it was? They did a song that was called Kill Your Parents and Rape Your Fucking Dog or something like that. And it was basically, it was in response to like the FCC and similar groups censoring music. So the idea is, okay, we're just going to go totally over the top. We're getting the warning sticker anyway because we're heavy metal. Fuck them. So we're just going to make a song that's really beyond the pale. Look at grindcore. Holy shit. Look at Intestinal Disgorge's discography and look at some of the lyrics of their songs and tell me what you see. By the way, little known fact, first video that I ever uploaded to YouTube that had a 6-figure view total was sectioned by a spiral saw by Intestinal Disgorge. Back in the old days, you could actually do that. You could post music on YouTube. Did you know that? 90% of you probably didn't. I ended up having some problems because I uploaded pictures of a dead skunk that I had trapped in the garden, swarming with maggots as the picture for the Intestinal Disgorge songs. Whoops. But yeah, Children of Bodom, I think it was, had a song like that. And they've kept putting stickers on it, parental content, etc., and bullshit like that. And they've even used it in criminal proceedings. I support Newsom on this. This is a good idea. It should be taken up in every state. No state should ever use as an aggravating factor song lyrics, artistic works, and things like that, unless you can prove an actual connection. You can't prove, for example, that one rapper hates another rapper, and therefore there was premeditation when he decided to try to kill them, using that as an aggravating factor simply because of a diss track. I support this. And I'm not even a rap fan for the most part. Immortal Technique, by the way, best rapper. One of the most negative rappers as well. Jason Lost. I took a giant multi-textured crap this morning. Amazingly, it looks like John Fetterman without a hoodie. Is this a sign? Lol. Yeah, he's kind of lumpy and wrinkly. He does kind of look like a turd when you think about it. Or a bag of lard, slightly discolored by mold. Mr. Marbles, HOA won the case. I have to remove my rebel flag from my house. So rip Washington State freedom and First Amendment. How is this even legal? I feel violated and grossed out. Sell your home and move elsewhere. Vote with your feet. And don't get a place where there's a housing authority that has any governance over your property. Deirdre Metcalf, our POTUS has Alzheimer's, but if we 25th him, the alternative doesn't know which Korea we're allied with. How much trouble are we in? Well, you're not going to be able to remove Biden. He'll probably end up removing himself. He probably will not make it to the end of his first term. I expect resignation is definitely a possibility at this point, getting 25th. And also, he has multiple health problems. He could stroke out tomorrow. It wouldn't even be surprising to me. He's 80 years old. He's an old man. Yeah, Immortal Technique is definitely the greatest rapper. And it doesn't matter if he's kind of communistic now. Freedom of speech, motherfucker. Next, and final news story. Dutch inflation leaps to 17%, boosted by high energy prices. Oh, you won't believe that part. Inflation in the Netherlands jumped in September to its highest in decades. In fact, I think it's verging in on an all-time high, actually. Driven by skyrocketing energy prices, the statistics agency said on Friday. Consumer prices, harmonized to be comparable with inflation data from other EU countries, rose to 17.1% this month, after August jumped to 13.7%. That's a pretty steep rise in inflation, just to be clear. Energy prices in the Eurozone's fifth largest economy were 114% higher than in September, while food prices jumped 10.5%. I've seen this. I don't have sticker shock yet, but I'm sure it won't take long. Yeah, Europe has some problems, and the Netherlands is not the only country suffering from them. Europe's energy policies are almost suicidal. Turning off fucking nuclear reactors, turning back on coal power plants, and, maybe sabotaging Nord Stream. We're not sure about that. Saying fuck you to Russia at a time when winter is approaching and you've already got high energy prices wasn't always the best thing to do. Lockdownerism was a problem, although I will note that the Netherlands did better than most countries with regards to that. Over on the other borders, they locked off their borders to Dutch people because the Dutch didn't have a mask mandate, for example. And even when there was a mask mandate, like I openly flaunted it. I literally never wore a mask once during that period going to the store. And only once did I ever get asked to put it on. And I just feigned ignorance and said, well, I'm sorry, I left it at home. And the chick at the Jumbo offered to sell me one. I'm like, well, no, I have a mask. I just forgot it. So, next time I come back, I'll have the mask on. I haven't seen her since then. Maybe she got fired for harassing people over their mask status or something like that. Wouldn't that be funny? She gets fired because she asked Six Hexenhammer to put on a mask. Cage the Mick, Children of Bodom is also awesome, but Dying Fetus made that song. Oh, it was Dying Fetus. Very well. Yeah, I think Dying Fetus is more hardcore than Bodom. Gorgeous Mayhem. Sorry, commie election censors. I think most people have already decided who they're voting for. Yes, I think so. There aren't a whole lot of undecided voters left. By the way, that's terrible news for the Democrats because the GOP is now about a point ahead of them in the generic ballot. You remember for a while there, when the Democrats were ahead in the generic ballot, you were hearing all about how important it was. But now the Republicans are 0.9 ahead and rising, it seems, while the Democrats appear to have possibly hit a ceiling. Well, all of a sudden, it dropped out of the news cycle. I'm so surprised. How the fuck did this happen? Many such cases. The Landlord Harassment Channel. Sticks, you're off your game. Why aren't you talking about the rekindled romance between Ben Affleck and J-Lo? That's what we're really here for. Yeah, to some people, probably would be. So yeah, we've got 17% inflation here in the Netherlands, where I happen to currently be residing. How lovely. Most of it's energy. Yes, there was a huge increase in the energy bill that we have here. We're capable of handling that. I feel damn sorry for people that are in the working class in the Netherlands. Same as I do for people in virtually the entire United States. I can't even imagine how fucking terrible it must be. You've got to be skipping meals at some point. I can give empathy, not just sympathy. I've done that myself. I know what it's like to be poor. Really, though, there's no reason that should be happening right now. It's entirely self-inflicted by lockdownerism and by an energy war with Russia that the West simply can't win because the main energy juggernaut of the Western world, which is the U.S., isn't in the game. Joe Biden is an enemy of U.S. energy industry. He could probably make another 1 million jobs right now if he would just fucking shut up and sit down on the energy industry. But he's got to play up to the leftoid base for the midterms and talk about how much he loves fucking solar panels. What a goddamn moron. The Landlord Harassment Channel. My electric bill has tripled, and I'm in Iowa. Ouch. Yeah, I can't remember how much ours rose. It's a significant amount, just to be clear. People who already built their solar panels, they're happy, but people who want them now, they definitely don't have the expendable cash to put them up. Again, link in the description on both platforms, as well as pinned at the top of chat if you're on YouTube. I have decided to stop fucking around with Turkey on Pixel Planet. Instead, we're going to focus on Africa. Let them take over the Balkans because it's clear in the absence of the clankers, the entire rest of Europe doesn't have the manpower to defend themselves. I am not going to dedicate the years that it would take, quite literally, for Turkey to overrun the entire European continent. It's just, it's too much. It would be a little difficult. So you can join up there, link in the description. That'll take you to Vermont. You can pixel that in with the red and yellow pixels. You see them elsewhere in the United States. Right now, we're going to take over the state of Vermont because it's funny as fuck, because that's where I'm from. Eventually, we'll take over the whole North American continent because the Canadians aren't going to be able to defend themselves against Clankdom. Mr. Marbles, Russian-Chinese warships nearing Alaskan coast? Happens all the time. Warships and planes buzz on both sides of the Pacific Ocean regularly. Seeing Sights, federal judge upholds Georgia election integrity practices, dealing a blow to Stacey Abrams. Excellent. Well, there's another news update. Anyway, I think I'm going to go offline, so no more super chats. There's one here. Joker1, your rap example probably triggered a copyright violation on half of today's music. Lol. Yeah, I know. The rap lyrics these days are not quite so inventive as they were in the past. I think they peak in the 1990s, ultimately. Although I like the 80s sound better, because I like synthesizers and shit. As far as the lyricism goes and the flow, it's really the 90s are sort of the peak. The 2000s are all right. Now it's all mumbling. Although I do have to say that some of it's good. Lil Nas X's Montero, which it's not really rap, it's more hip hop. I like the song. I like the fact that he kills the devil in the end and then becomes Satan is pretty funny. I find it amusing, at least. It's more dance music than it is rap at this point, though. Monkey's uncle, longtime listener, first-time chat. How long do you think it'll take for all the COVID crap like mandates to finally go away? It's already going away. Thank goodness. Anyway, I'm going to go offline now, of course, and do other things. Do have to cook later. I do have a steak marinating in the fridge. Yes, a ribeye. The price of those have gone up too, but, you know, for right now, I'm capable of still getting one. I wonder how long that will be. I expect there may be shortages. There'll be less demand because nobody can afford it. All of a sudden, you have no choice but to eat the bugs. Yummy. Crickets for breakfast. Yeah, it's time for my protein. That's about all. Peace out.